The true story of George, age 82. George had just celebrated his 82nd birthday. A retired mechanical engineer, he'd always been the sharp one in his circle. But for the first time, he forgot the name of his best friend from college. It terrified him. His daughter, noticing his unease, gifted him a journal and encouraged him to read, walk, and join her local book club. 1 year later, George wasn't just remembering names, he was teaching others to paint, leading walking groups, and finally finishing that novel he had started decades ago. What changed? 5 small habits. Nothing radical. Nothing expensive. But they rewired his aging brain, and they can do the same for you. If you're over 70, or love someone who is, this might be the most important script you ever encounter. Let's dive into the 5 natural, science-backed secrets that help keep your mind razor sharp, even after retirement. The human brain is one of the most remarkable structures in the universe. Yet, as we age, it faces inevitable changes. After age 70, it's common to experience occasional forgetfulness, like misplacing your glasses or forgetting a name. These changes, often labeled as senior moments, are usually part of normal aging. However, they can sometimes signal something deeper, such as mild cognitive impairment or early signs of dementia. Here's the good news: neuroscientific research confirms that the brain retains plasticity, its ability to adapt, learn, and grow, even into your 90s. That means no matter how old you are, your brain can form new connections and strengthen old ones. The catch? It needs the right stimulation. In my 35 years of practice as a neurologist and geriatric specialist, I've witnessed firsthand how simple daily habits can turn mental decline around. Patients I once feared were slipping into dementia returned months later more alert, more articulate, and filled with new purpose. What changed wasn't medication, it was lifestyle. So let's uncover the 5 secrets. Reading has long been seen as a window to the world. But it's also a powerful workout for your brain. When you read with intention, not just skimming, but engaging with ideas, imagining scenarios, asking questions, you light up neural networks that govern comprehension, memory, and logic. Case study: Charles, 74, Arizona. Charles, a retired bus driver, came into my office worried about his memory. He struggled with names, felt disconnected in conversations, and feared he was losing it. We discovered he had stopped reading after retirement. I challenged him: read 1 science magazine article each day. At first, it was tough. But within 3 months, he came back energized. "Doctor," he said, "I'm understanding things I never cared about before. And I can actually explain them to my grandkids." Why it works? Reading exercises areas of the brain that interpret language and manage memory. It promotes mental flexibility and recall. Reading with curiosity triggers dopamine release, making learning rewarding. Suggestions: historical fiction, science articles, biographies, and even poetry. Read aloud to someone else, it enhances verbal memory. Keep a journal to summarize what you read. Daily reading may seem small, but its long-term benefits on cognitive preservation are immense. We've all heard that exercise is good for the heart. But for the brain? It's gold. When you move, especially through walking, your brain receives increased oxygen and blood flow. Movement also stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that helps neurons grow and survive. Story: Patricia, 81, widow after losing her husband. Patricia struggled with grief and brain fog. I recommended morning walks in her neighborhood. She started with 5 minutes, listening to the birds and noticing blooming flowers. In a month, she felt lighter, happier. In 6 months, Her mental clarity improved noticeably. She said, "Walking saved me from my grief, but it also gave me my mind back." Tips: aim for 20 to 30 minutes a day. If not possible, 10 minutes is a great start. Walk in nature when you can. The visual and auditory stimuli enhance cognition. Change your route regularly to encourage novelty and mental engagement. Your body carries your brain, and it turns out the reverse is true too. Movement keeps your thoughts fresh and your mind resilient. Imagine your brain as a high-performance car. Now imagine running it on low-grade fuel. That's what happens when we ignore proper nutrition. After 70, the body absorbs nutrients less efficiently. The brain is often the first to suffer. I've seen patients misdiagnosed with dementia when they were simply deficient in B12 or chronically dehydrated. Joe, 76, the toast and jam breakfast. Joe thought he was eating light and healthy with toast and jam each morning. But he began experiencing mood swings, fogginess, and trouble finding words. A simple switch, adding eggs, walnuts, and water, transformed his mental clarity in just weeks. Key nutrients: omega-3 fatty acids, found in walnuts, flaxseed, and fatty fish. Antioxidants, blueberries, dark chocolate, green leafy vegetables. Vitamin B12, essential for memory, often low in older adults. Hydration, even mild dehydration can impair focus and recall. Suggestions: start your day with protein, healthy fats, and water. Avoid excess sugar, it spikes energy but crashes mental performance. Consider supplements only after testing and under medical advice. Nourishing your brain is not about expensive trends. It's about consistency and balance. When well fed, the brain functions like it's decades younger. Loneliness is more dangerous than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not a metaphor, it's science. Isolation increases the risk of cognitive decline, depression, and even heart disease. Social interaction, meanwhile, exercises your brain in dynamic ways, remembering names, interpreting facial cues, adjusting your thoughts in conversation. Helen, 82, introvert. Helen's daughter coaxed her into joining a community book club. She was reluctant, shy, and anxious about strangers. 3 months later, she was organizing meetups. Her speech became sharper. Her mood lifted, and she started recounting old memories with newfound clarity. Ideas to reconnect: book clubs, community centers, church groups, or hobby classes. Regular phone/video calls with grandchildren. Volunteering, purpose and connection in one. If you're alone, start small, talk to your pharmacist. Chat with a neighbor, or write letters to friends. Your mind is wired for connection, and those wires need current to keep firing. Curiosity is often underestimated. Yet, it might be the single most potent mental tool we have. Curiosity leads to exploration, exploration leads to learning. And learning builds new neural pathways. Frank, 78, watercolor warrior. Frank retired and felt a mental fog settle in. His daughter gave him a watercolor kit. At first, he resisted. But then he started watching tutorials, practicing brush strokes, learning about color theory. 6 months later, his mind was alive. It wasn't about the art. It was about the curiosity. Ways to stay curious: learn a new skill, instrument, art, cooking. Ask questions and look up the answers. Keep a curiosity notebook. Explore new places, even virtually, Google Earth, documentaries. Novelty feeds the brain. It keeps us young, engaged, and hopeful. Whether it's painting, learning Spanish, or understanding black holes, your mind is meant to grow. In all my years working with seniors, the most common misconception I hear is, "It's too late for me." That belief is more dangerous than any diagnosis. The truth is, I've seen 90-year-olds reverse mild cognitive impairment with nothing but habit change. I've seen lonely elders bloom with community support. I've seen veterans learn to write poetry. What makes the difference isn't money, education, or genetics. It's choice. A willingness to try. And the humility to start small. Warning signs to watch. Trouble following conversations. Misplacing items and forgetting their purpose. Mood changes and withdrawal. Difficulty planning or solving problems. But remember, these symptoms don't always mean dementia. Sometimes, they mean your brain needs a bit more care, stimulation, and nourishment. Real-life examples and interviews. Monday. Morning, 10-minute walk in the neighborhood. Breakfast, boiled egg, whole grain toast, blueberries. Afternoon, read 10 pages of a new book. Tuesday. Phone call with a friend. Watch a documentary on a topic you know little about. Write 1 page in a curiosity journal. Wednesday. Community activity or local library visit. Practice gratitude, list 3 things you enjoyed today. Thursday. Try a new recipe with brain-friendly ingredients. Evening, reflective journaling or storytelling with grandkids. Friday. 15-minute walk with music or podcast. Sketch something you see outside. Saturday. Attend a virtual class or book club. Talk about something you learned this week. Sunday. Rest and recharge, but still hydrate, eat well, and reflect on the week. Conclusion: the power of choice. Aging is a privilege. But how we age is a choice. Your brain is not a fixed organ. It is a living, dynamic universe that responds to your habits, your mindset, and your willingness to stay engaged. Every small step, a walk, a meal, a laugh with a friend, is a vote for mental vitality. The earlier you start, the greater the reward. But it's never too late. George, Charles, Patricia, Helen, Joe, and Frank didn't do anything extraordinary. They simply decided they weren't done growing. And neither are you. Thank you for reading. If even one idea here spoke to you, act on it today. Your brain is ready. Dr. Jonathan Hale, MD, Neurology and Geriatric Medicine Specialist.